welcome to Corey's Ballet Coaching. Today I'm going to take us through sewing our pointe shoes. Now everyone's pointe shoes are going to look a little different, and when you sew them we're going to sew them a little different, but I'll show you how I do it today. So first off, you want to get your elastics to the right length. So the way I like to do this, I get my elastics from Block. They're a thick elastic, and I like to cut them into 6. Okay, now I use 2 elastics on each of my feet because I like to do a cross elastic. But something that's really important to do once we've cut our elastics and our ribbons is to burn the ends, otherwise they might fray. So you want to grab a lighter, you want to put it on and hold it gently over the elastic till you see the edge just burn ever so slightly, and now there's going to be no fraying. So you'll see this edge, bit of fraying, burn it, and then there'll be no fraying. So you want to do this to all of your elastics. Great, I have 4 for this time and I've got 2 for next time. Next up is our ribbons. So I use the Elastoribs from Block, which are really good because they've got a little bit of elastic that can go around the back of the ankle. Now you've got to measure this end so the elastic is perfectly set for your ankle. So one way to do it is just to measure where you would be sewing from and to make sure that the back of the elastic is around the back of your ankle like so. So I'd be sewing it on the pointe shoe, so I know I've got to cut this much off for me. And then I'll often just use the scrap bit of our ribbon and measure it against the next set. Awesome. Like the elastics, I'll burn my ribbons too. Great, now I have my elastics and my ribbons at the right size for me. I'm going to put on my shoe and show you where I like to put my elastics and ribbons. So I do a crisscross action and I do one elastic from the back, but I'll sew it on the inside, and then I bring it all the way around, I'll do the other side, all the way around to the seam, the behind the seam like so. So I'll start off with doing my elastic. I'll turn my shoe inside out to make it easier, okay? And then I'll place the elastic, but before I do so, I need to make sure my thread is ready. I always do a double knot at the end, so one knot on top of the other to make sure that it doesn't go through the shoe. I like to use quite a thick thread, so it's really good on stage, they're not going to snap. Okay, so I place it inside. Now I wear a gainer, so my sewing is a little bit different because sometimes you can go through the satin and you can just go through the first layer so you won't see any of the stitching on the other side. But with a gainer, the material's a little thicker, so I don't bother trying to do that. I just put the needle all the way through, in and out each time I go. I start off on the outside of the elastic, so I've just put it just about 1/2 centimeter away from the seam at the back of the shoe. So I go through, pull through one side, and then I go back through the shoe and through the elastic. Now, every time I start at the beginning, I like to go over the same spot twice when I do the first stitch. Great. And now I make my way up the edge. So I like to do the side first and then make my way up to the edge. And then I like to go along the seam about 3 times. So I go in, out, in, out. So it's very simple just to go in and out for these particular shoes. And then I get to the edge and I go through one more time And now I've come back through this way, and now I like to go down to secure the bottom. Sometimes it can be a little bit fiddly. And then back up the top. Down on the bottom. And back up the top. Repeat that all the way along. Now, the final stitch, the way I like to knot my shoe is to go in like I would with a satin shoe. So this part's a little trickier. I go in and I go out in the one stitch. So I go in and out in the one stitch, like so. And then a loop has formed because I haven't pulled it all the way through. A loop has formed. So I put the needle through the loop and then I pull down like so. I do that another time on the same sort of spot of the shoe. I go in and out, and I don't pull all the way through so that a loop will form. Put the needle through the loop and I pull. Sometimes the thread gets a little bit stuck. And then I like to do 2 knots. So from there, I just create a circle loop and I go through with the needle. I put my finger to make sure the knot is closest to the shoe. I put my finger on the knot and pull down tight. And I do 2 of these. So it's similar to how I knot my thread when I first start my shoes. Great. And that is the first elastic done. Let's do that 4 times. Okay, now I have the 2 elastics finished. So I flip the shoe back in the right way. Now I'm going to put it on and just double check that when I put my elastics through, they're going to be the right length. So I like to crisscross my elastic because I find when I crisscross my elastic, it really helps to pull the shoe in and support my foot, and it really has that beautiful arch because it gets any excess fabric and makes sure that it's firm to the foot. So a way to cut down the sewing though, so you don't have to sew more, is by sewing the ribbons and the elastics at the same time if you're doing this crisscross action, because both of them are going to sit just behind the seam for me. So by cutting down sewing, I grab my ribbon. One thing you have to be careful with the elastiribs is that the seam is on the inside. So you want to have the rough bit on the inside so it looks nice and smooth on the outside. So I grab the ribbon, I grab the elastic and I align them together like so. And then I'm going to place it in that crisscross action, and I like to have it on the inside. I like it to go a little bit lower than I do at the back of the shoe. So I like to go about halfway down. So you're really, really pulling it up from the bottom of the shoe. Whereas at the back, I just have it like a little bit down, but a little bit further down the shoe behind that seam. And then I do the exact same technique. I've double knotted my ribbon, my what's this called? My thread. Now I've gone in and I come out and I know where it is because I placed it just at the seam. So I know to put my needle just in front of the seam. And again, when I do my first one, I like to do 2 on the same spot just to make sure it's going. Now again, I go up the side first. I go up the side and now I go across the top. About 3 stitches for me. Then I go down the other side. and then I go across the bottom. So it's a square shape for the elastics and ribbons as I put it further down the shoe, so there's a bit more to sew. Now I'm doing my knot. So I've gone through and out on the same side rather than going all the way through. I pull it, but I don't pull it all the way so that I can put my needle through the loop that I've created. I do that twice, and then I knot it to tie it off. So doing my loop twice, and then comes the knot. So we go loop, needle goes through, pull the knot, thumb over the top, so the knot is as close to the shoe as possible. Voila, one ribbon. Getting the thread through the eye of the needle is always the hardest part for me. So I pull it through, but I only knot one end, so it's not too thick. But I do a double knot, so knot on top of a knot. Final ribbon. So we go over. It doesn't matter which you want, if you go over or under for the second elastic. Either way works fine. You get your ribbon, making sure the seam's on the right side, on the inside. I put the ribbon closest to the shoe, ribbon behind the elastic, so ribbon closest to the shoe. I place it about halfway to 3/4 of the way down the shoe behind the seam, and I repeat. I like to have plenty of thread so it doesn't run out halfway through a stitch. There's nothing worse than your thread running out. Hence why I have quite a long one. Something that can really help if you find it hard and slippery to pull the needle through, you can cut off 2 fingers of a glove, and that will really help. The plastic will help to grip on that needle and to pull it through. And voila, you have a perfect shoe. Now all it's left to do is to put it on and tie it up. Now you see there's quite a lot of excess ribbon here, so what you're going to want to do is chop it and use your lighter to burn it so there's less ribbon to tuck up, like so. Make sure your elastics are tied and tucked in too. Now I've got to do the other shoe.